Before we get any further, this video contains spoilers for episode 3 of Ahsoka. If you haven't seen it yet, we highly recommend you head on over to Disney Plus and watch it before continuing with the video. If you're all caught up, or just don't care, let's dive right in.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
With episode 3, our protagonists get ever closer to bridging the gap between galaxies and locating Thrawn and Ezra. We won't lie, there were some incredibly frustrating parts in this episode, like Disney's continued attempts to make the New Republic as useless as possible. Despite those moments, however, this episode brought us back to the Clone Wars and their epic space battle scenes. Seeing Ahsoka piloting, then making the spacewalk to take on fighters Mano, a space fightero, really reminded us of her former master, Anakin. It's not the first time we've seen space lightsaber combat, but it never gets old. In today's video, we'll be talking about it and how it works, as well as how Ahsoka continues to prove she's taken after Anakin's better side. To quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker was the greatest pilot the galaxy had ever seen, and he goes out of his way to prove it time and time again. There are countless scenes in the Clone Wars where we're treated to Anakin and his starfighter pulling off incredible maneuvers, taking out enemy fighters, and causing havoc against larger Star Destroyers or Dreadnoughts. But because Anakin was such a gifted pilot, he made it a point to make sure everyone close to him was also good enough. When looking at Ahsoka, it's not hard to see his influence. Throughout the Clone Wars, Ahsoka took to her starfighter almost as often as Anakin did, and she was given command of a squadron more than once. Her first command during the first Battle of Ryloth led to disaster due to her overconfidence, but unlike other stubborn characters, she took the lesson to heart, changed for the better, and applied what she'd learned to future conflicts. That's why Anakin felt like he could rely on her as a fellow pilot to pull off critical mission elements independent of him. He trusted her to learn and to never make the same mistake twice. In defense of Cato Nemoidia, we see the Master and Padawan duo leading the 501st in defense of the planet that was being invaded by the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Despite being only 16, Ahsoka was more than capable of dodging Separatist artillery, even better than Anakin himself, whom she had to rescue from his ruined starfighter. To save him, she had to make some critical calls very quickly. Instructing R2 to try and land on a short cliff shelf, she instructed her droid to take over the controls while she scaled the outside of her starfighter, made the jump to Anakin's, and cut him out of it just before he would have plummeted to his death. What we're getting at is that Anakin didn't just teach her how to fly a starfighter. He taught her how to think, and not just about starfighter combat. Perhaps Anakin's greatest gift to his Padawan, and one she accepted eagerly, was his ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Skywalker was famous for his unconventional tactics, but when you're fighting a war against droids that can't improvise, being unpredictable is the best way to handle them. As we see when Ahsoka is training Padme to fly a starfighter on Anakin's request, being unpredictable and creative is Ahsoka's best advice when dealing with the droid ship that attacks them unexpectedly. From what we saw in episode 3, it seems like Ahsoka has only gotten better with age. Despite piloting a ship not specialized for combat, she was able to pilot it well, adapting to her gunner's requests and allowing her to pick off some of the starfighters harassing them. While her skills may seem diminished compared to the prowess she displayed during the Clone Wars, it's important to remember her ship is very different, as was her objective. Her priority was to allow Huyang to scan the hyperspace array, not taking out the enemy fighters. Even so, her instincts served her well. With Sabine's help, they were able to bring the ship down and evade their pursuers. But Ahsoka's piloting wasn't the coolest part about this space battle, and it wasn't even close. For the first time in a while, we got to see Jedi doing Jedi things and taking combat where squishy organics weren't quite meant to go. Space. Now, we're sure you all remember the epic scene of Plo Koon in the Clone Wars exiting their ship to fight off the Separatists and rescue the clone troopers under his command. When Plo Koon and his troops were attacked by Count Dooku and the droid army, their command ship quickly lost power. When the clones had to ditch the main ship and droid forces began opening the escape pods and killing the clones inside, Plo Koon took action. He was able to withstand the pressure for a brief time even without a spacesuit, and so he instructed his troopers to put their pressurized helmets on and exited their escape pod. What follows is an epic scene of Plo Koon standing atop the pod, using his saber in the Force to deflect, parry, and cut down the B-1 battle droids. He also cut away their supports and set them flying back against larger debris, crushing them. Thanks to his spacewalk and abilities, he was able to push the enemy away long enough for himself and his troops to be rescued. Given how Ahsoka was present during that scene, how Plo Koon mentored her in her early days as a Jedi, and how this wasn't even the only Jedi we've seen take a little spacewalk, it's not really a shock to see Ahsoka pull it off in today's episode. That doesn't make it any less cool though. Just like with Plo Koon, Ahsoka's foray into space wasn't for fun. It was a last-ditch effort to save a desperate situation, her case being that her ship was dead in space and she needed to buy time for her Padawan to get it going again. Also like Plo Koon, she stayed close to her ship, which was a necessary grounding point. Using a spacesuit with magnetized soles to keep her anchored, she stepped out onto her ship's hull and lured the starfighters in. With the Force, she was able to avoid being rammed by jumping over them, and with her sabers, she deflected several bolts. The most impressive part, however, is that during the starfighter's second pass, she again leaped over them, but this time she sliced down and managed to destroy the fighter mid-pass. The maneuver was successful, but it disconnected her from the hull and left her hovering helplessly in space beside the ship. Even then, she didn't panic, calmly reminding her Padawan to focus on finishing the repairs and, when they were completed, re-entering the ship like it was a cakewalk and not a spacewalk. Space lightsaber combat is amazing, no matter how you slice it. But far beyond the skills needed to pull it off, it's the mental fortitude that really stands out here. If you've ever stood on a glass floor somewhere high up, you know the instinctive terror of standing above nothing. Space is so much worse than that, even in an era where space flight was an everyday thing. The ability to not only exit a fighter into the unwelcoming emptiness of space, but then to have the focus to engage with enemy forces and push them back is a testament to how much she's learned from her masters before her. Plo Koon taught her to be calm and resolute, and set an example of just what a Jedi should be prepared to do. Anakin taught her to think outside the box and to surprise her enemies at every turn. Ahsoka may be strong in the Force, and she may be an incredibly skilled lightsaber duelist, but in today's episode, we're reminded of her abilities to channel her inner Anakin and pull something off that leaves her enemies, and us, stunned. That's why she's survived all this time and why she continues to surprise us all, and we can't wait to see more. But what do you think? Were you excited to see her pull a Plo Koon? Are you just as angry at the New Republic's incompetence as we are? Let us know all that and more in the comment section below, and as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.